This episode is based on the story of Grant Amato. You want to hear something creepy? I started reading about this guy named Grant Amato, and somewhere in the middle of the story, it stopped feeling like true crime and started feeling like watching somebody mentally drift away from reality. At first, it barely even sounds dangerous. It sounds like loneliness. A guy spending too much time online, getting emotionally attached to somebody on the internet. Honestly, probably the kind of thing people around us are quietly dealing with all the time. But somewhere along the line, this whole thing turned into something really dark. When you look back at everything leading up to it, you can almost see reality slowly slipping away from him, piece by piece. That's the part that stayed with me, not even the murders at first. It's the unraveling before them. Apparently, Grant became obsessed with an online cam model. And I know the word obsessed gets thrown around constantly now, but in this case, it really seems accurate. From what I read, he was sending huge amounts of money to this woman, spending hours talking to her online, emotionally investing himself into this relationship to a degree that started seriously alarming the people around him. From the outside, the relationship seemed obviously one-sided, but I don't think that's how he felt inside his head. Something that kept standing out to me while reading about this case was how emotionally real the relationship apparently became for him. Online relationships can feel incredibly real psychologically, especially when someone is lonely enough, especially when the fantasy version of connection starts feeling emotionally safer than real life. And I think the internet has created a kind of emotional environment human beings probably weren't fully prepared for. You can become emotionally attached to somebody who mostly exists through a screen, and your brain can and will still experience that attachment as completely real. Maybe even more emotionally intense than reality itself sometimes. According to experts, Grant's family became deeply concerned about how extreme the fixation was getting. Apparently, they tried everything. Their intervening came across as limiting internet access, cutting off money, trying to separate him from the situation completely. And the strange thing about obsession is that the more somebody tries pulling a person away from it, the more emotionally attached they can sometimes become. Because at a certain point, it no longer feels like somebody is attacking the fantasy. It feels like they're attacking the person you've emotionally attached yourself to. As everything inside the house became more intense, the story started feeling less like internet addiction and more like psychological isolation taking over somebody's entire life. Because from the outside, everybody around him seemed to realize something was wrong except him. At least that's how it reads now, but I don't think it felt irrational to him anymore. I think that by the time his family started to intervene, the emotional attachment had already started overriding reality itself for Grant. That's what makes this story feel so unsettling, is apparently it didn't happen all at once. It feels more like somebody slowly disappearing into a fantasy they emotionally couldn't let go of anymore. And then the story turned into something horrifying. In 2019, Grant Amato was accused of murdering his mother, father, brother inside of their Florida home. Three people: mother, father, brother, his own family. And after reading everything leading up to it, that part hits differently because this didn't begin with violence. It began with emotional fixation, loneliness, fantasy, isolation, the slow psychological feeling of somebody becoming more emotionally connected to the person on a screen than the people physically sitting in the same house with him. This entire case left me with this really strange feeling afterwards because there's something deeply eerie about how quietly this kind of emotional isolation can happen. No dramatic speeches. There's no conspiracy, no secret organizations, just loneliness, obsession, and the internet slowly becoming more psychologically real than reality itself. I don't think people fully understand yet what that combination can do to some of us. There's something unsettling about the idea that somebody can emotionally disappear long before anything violent ever happens. Like reality slowly loses emotional weight while the fantasy becomes more and more important. And by the time people around them realize how serious it's become, the person may already be too psychologically far inside to come back.